Hi, my name is Mel, and for Brickworld Chicago this year, one of the things that I brought was my Harry Potter series for Half-Blood Prince. So this project actually started last year by a builder named Marcel. He started with the first book in the series, and he had in mind this idea of building one vignette every day for 30 days on that one movie. It's a pretty daunting task to build at that speed and also at that quantity. And so at the end of his amazing series, he actually was going to just stop. And luckily, a series of other builders stepped up and wanted to continue what Marcel had started. So Marcus took on the second book, and then we have Kevin who did third, Thorsten who did fourth, and Johannes who did the fifth. And you can see all of that on our Flickr page, the whole series of Harry Potter's Magical Journey. And I took on the challenge of book 6, Half-Blood Prince. And then afterwards, Jared completed the whole series with book 7. And my idea for this series was I wanted to incorporate all the fun details I've thought about putting into a MOC into this tiny vignettes. It's very it's fun to think of new floor techniques, new ways of building furniture, how to place a setting and recreate something you've seen in a movie or what you've imagined in a book. And so to build at this size, which is about 12 by 12, is a lot of fun, and you can pack up a lot of details. I love Harry Potter and I love the universe, and I really wanted to be sure to represent it in a way where the fan base would appreciate, small, hidden Mickeys, small references to the series. And I'm really happy with the way that the whole series came out, and the ability for me to be able to challenge myself and do 30 creations and present them to to the audience in 30 days. And so in the month of December of 2016, I posted one vignette a day in December, and people got to follow along in this amazing journey and see, I think in total we have about 180 vignettes to represent the whole series of Harry Potter. And it's a really cool thing to be a part of with a group of builders of that caliber. So some of my favorites that I did for this series was, of course, the Wizards Weasley shop. It was one of my most challenging ones because Lego actually doesn't release a lot of orange parts in a lot of different quantities or types, and so I was trying to think of how to do windows for such a tight shop, and was really having a hard time because the Lego windows that the Lego company has released are too wide. So I'm playing around with parts, and I thought, what if I put two minifigure vests into each other and create windows that way? And it was such a ridiculous idea. I said, there's no way this is going to work. I also didn't have enough to even try out the idea. So I had a friend of mine from Norway. She just shipped me about 100 of them just to see whether or not it would work. And I had to post this maybe 5 or 6 days later. So of course the pressure is on to get it done. And you really take that risk as a builder as well when you think of a cool idea. If you want to try to see if it follows through, you really have to, source parts, try different techniques. And I was really lucky that this ended up, working in the way that it does. It balances perfectly, and it doesn't have very much attachments, but I think at least this is the best way I was able to represent a shop that is held together by magic, essentially. And that's the challenge with the whole series, that we're representing a genre or a franchise that bases a lot of its, amazing representation on magic. Mm-hmm. And when you're building out of Lego, you can't suspend things in the air. And so if you see the series online, you'll notice that we actually did use Photoshop in order to incorporate that magic. We wanted to be sure that we gave the best representation of the series as we possibly could. And so we had some floating things initially on transparent stands, but we edited them away in order to keep the builds very clean. There really is no other way of doing that in order to maintain the flow of a story. It cuts the audience from being able to focus on the actual representation of what it is if there's a lot of stands and busyness in the way holding things up. And so everybody in the series tried to incorporate Photoshop as much as they could in order to be able to represent that magic.
Yeah, very neat. One thing I noticed here with this build in particular is all the gold pieces. If you can point out some of those and kind of the different gold pieces that you were able to use there for parts of that build.
Yeah, another color that Lego hasn't released very often is gold, and this is the Ministry of Magic. If you see it in the movies, it's very embellished. It's a high government building in the wizarding community, and I wanted to be able to show these are essentially like fireplaces where they come out of in order to go work at the Ministry. And this scene in particular is when Harry and Dumbledore are in front of the reporters right after Voldemort had appeared. And they had these, it's funny, the wizarding community is so advanced from like the human community in the series, but they use these really old vintage cameras, and you would think that like you have some sort of magic way of taking photos other than like a really, really old camera. But I wanted to be sure that I kept that authentic. And so some of the gold pieces I used are actually like Lego taps, like water taps. There's the new like horns, that animal horns, like antlers. There's also these like little fez cups that Lego has created. And so the cool thing about building with gold is that once you put everything together, it looks so like fancy and over embellished that it really doesn't matter what you use. That color consistency pretty much does what you want it to do, right?
Yeah, very neat. Well, I think the vignettes turned out really great, and we'll make sure to put a link in the description of this video to the Flickr page where all the rest of them can be seen as well. So you can check that out and enjoy seeing all the different Harry Potter builds. Thanks for talking with me about these.
Yeah, no problem at all. We also won Best Vignette for the show, and so we're really happy to be able to bring this to life at a convention. Thanks so much.
Congratulations. Thank you.